February 14, 1943. Kasserine Pass, Tunisia. Major Hans Freiherr von Funk of the 21st Panzer Division observed American reinforcements streaming through the valley. The vehicles defied German military doctrine, not the armoured half-tracks and heavy trucks Wehrmacht planning demanded for desert warfare, but hundreds of small, completely exposed vehicles bouncing across terrain at remarkable speeds. In his operational diary, later captured at Tunis, von Funk wrote, "The American reconnaissance vehicles display mobility that contradicts our vehicular doctrine. They traverse terrain we classify as impassable for wheeled transport." The German High Command's initial assessment, found in Wehrmacht archives, dismissed these vehicles as unsuitable for combat operations, essentially militarized civilian automobiles. Within 3 months, those same vehicles would be racing through Tunis as 250,000 Afrika Korps soldiers surrendered. Within 18 months, they would be crossing France faster than German intelligence could track them. The vehicle that German generals dismissed as inadequate would become one of the most decisive weapons of World War II. German confidence in vehicular superiority had strong foundations. The Wehrmacht's blitzkrieg tactics had revolutionized warfare, using mechanized forces to conquer most of Europe. Their Kübelwagen, designed by Ferdinand Porsche, featured sophisticated engineering, an air-cooled rear engine, advanced suspension, and a limited slip differential, the first such application outside racing cars. With 26 horsepower and streamlined design, it represented what Germans believed was optimal military vehicle engineering. When British forces first deployed American-manufactured Jeeps in North Africa in late 1941, German intelligence reports were dismissive. A captured 15th Panzer Division assessment from March 1942 described them as primitive utility vehicles of no tactical significance. The specifications seemed to confirm German prejudices, weighing barely 1,100 kilograms, lacking armour, doors, and featuring what German engineers deemed an obsolete L-head engine design. Field Marshal Erwin Rommel's first documented encounter with captured Jeeps occurred after the Battle of Gazala in June 1942. According to his operations officer's war diary, Rommel examined a captured British Jeep and commented that it was typical of American industrial thinking, quantity over quality. He ordered one sent for technical evaluation, showing minimal interest. The subsequent motor pool report, however, contained unexpected observations. Vehicle starts in all temperatures, maintenance minimal, fuel consumption efficient despite power output, parts interchangeable with other captured Allied vehicles. The summer of 1942 provided mounting evidence of the Jeep's capabilities. During First El Alamein in July, Commonwealth forces utilized Jeeps extensively for reconnaissance and casualty evacuation. The German 164th Light Division's war diary noted, "Enemy reconnaissance units operate in terrain previously classified impassable. Traditional defensive positions are consistently outflanked by motorized patrols moving through supposed natural obstacles." David Sterling's Special Air Service raids demonstrated the Jeep's combat potential. On July 26, 1942, 18 Jeeps attacked Sidi Hanish airfield, destroying 37 Luftwaffe aircraft. The Afrika Korps after-action report stated, "Enemy vehicles achieved complete tactical surprise, delivered concentrated firepower, and withdrew, before organized resistance materialized. Speed estimated at 70 km per hour across open desert." By 2nd El Alamein in October 1942, German recognition of the Jeep's impact was evident in captured correspondence. General Wilhelm Ritter von Thoma, temporarily commanding the Afrika Korps, cabled Berlin, "Enemy possesses individual motorized capability down to squad level. Every reconnaissance, every supply run, every casualty evacuation proceeds at vehicular speed. We cannot match this operational tempo." Operation Torch in November 1942 brought American forces directly into North Africa with thousands of Jeeps. Colonel Eberhard Wildermuth, observing the landings from Tunisian positions, reported to Wehrmacht High Command. Within 6 hours of landing, American reconnaissance elements were operating 30 kilometers inland. They advanced not in columns but dispersed across the entire front. Traditional defensive doctrine assumes road-bound enemies. These forces ignore roads entirely. The Battle of Kasserine Pass in February 1943, despite initial German tactical success, revealed strategic implications of American motorization. While Rommel's forces achieved breakthrough, American recovery speed shocked German commanders. Major General Fritz von Broich wrote, "American forces withdrew faster than we could advance, regrouped faster than we could consolidate, and counterattacked before we could fortify. Their mobility multiplies their effective strength beyond our calculations." As the Afrika Korps retreated through Tunisia in spring 1943, captured jeeps became desperately sought prizes. The German military newspaper Die Oase from March 1943 included unit notices offering iron crosses, home leave, and precious fuel allocations for functioning jeeps. A logistics directive from April 1943 prioritized fuel allocation. 1. Captured American vehicles. 2. Motorcycles. 3. German vehicles. The Wehrmacht was officially acknowledging American vehicular superiority. The production statistics told an undeniable story. Ford and Willis manufactured 639,245 jeeps during the war. Willis producing 362,841 and Ford 276,404. Peak production reached one jeep every 2 minutes. In contrast, Germany produced approximately 50,000 Kübelwagens total. While Germany manufactured dozens of specialized vehicle types, each requiring unique parts and training, America mass-produced one versatile vehicle with universal applications. The Sicily campaign of July 1943 demonstrated the jeep's operational impact. General George Patton's rapid advance across the island relied on jeeps maintaining momentum where truck convoys would stall. Wehrmacht intelligence reported, "American forces move like water, flowing around strongpoints rather than assaulting them." Every platoon leader with motorized transport becomes capable of independent operations we reserve for specialist units. In Italy's mountainous terrain, where German defenders expected to negate American mechanization, jeeps proved remarkably capable. They climbed grades that defeated mules, forded streams that stopped trucks, and supplied positions German intelligence deemed isolated. Field Marshal Albert Kesselring's November 1943 assessment stated, "The American jeep has eliminated the concept of impassable terrain. Every goat path becomes a supply route, every hillside a potential flanking approach." Operation Greif during the Battle of the Bulge provided striking evidence of German recognition. SS Obersturmbannführer Otto Skorzeny, tasked with infiltrating American lines, made jeeps his top priority. When informed only 24 captured jeeps existed in Western Europe, he declared the mission compromised. His post-war interrogation revealed, the jeep was the American Army's signature. Without authentic jeeps, we could not convincingly impersonate American forces. The operation's failure stemmed partly from German misunderstanding of jeep usage. German commandos placed 4 men in jeeps when Americans typically used 2 or 3. They drove in formation when Americans drove independently. These subtle differences immediately exposed the imposters. As Skorzeny later admitted, "We could duplicate equipment, but not the instinctive familiarity Americans displayed with their vehicles." During the Normandy campaign, German forces encountered American motorization on an unprecedented scale. Within hours of D-Day, jeeps were operating throughout the beachhead. Major Hans von Luck, defending Caen, recorded, "Every hedgerow potentially concealed motorized reconnaissance." Traditional defensive lines became meaningless when enemy forces could probe every gap simultaneously. Operation Cobra's breakout demonstrated strategic implications. The Third Army's advance across France was enabled by jeeps maintaining extraordinary operational tempo. German defensive doctrine, predicated on establishing successive lines, proved obsolete when American forces could simultaneously probe every road, trail, and gap. General Hermann Balck observed, "We prepared for linear warfare but encountered three-dimensional mobility." By late 1944, Wehrmacht directives revealed desperate attempts to acquire jeeps. The 12th SS Panzer Division offered Knight's Crosses for capturing functioning jeeps. Special recovery units formed specifically to retrieve abandoned jeeps from battlefields. A December 1944 order stated, Captured American vehicles are strategic assets to be reported immediately to Corps headquarters. The Rhine crossing of March 1945 demonstrated the Jeep's tactical flexibility. At Remagen, Jeeps were among the first vehicles across the damaged Ludendorff Bridge, establishing the bridgehead under constant artillery fire. They navigated twisted steel and shell holes that would have stopped any other vehicle, maintaining the vital link until engineers could effect repairs. General Franz Halder, chief of the German General Staff who had dismissed American automotive capability in 1941, was captured in Bavaria by troops arriving in jeeps. In his interrogation, he stated, "We Germans built specialized excellence. The Americans built universal adequacy in overwhelming numbers. The jeep was not just a vehicle, but a revolution in military logistics." The jeep's simplicity contained sophisticated purpose. No doors allowed rapid exit under fire. The fold-down windshield reduced profile and prevented reflection. The L-head engine, while basic, could be repaired with simple tools. The power takeoff capability transformed jeeps into mobile power plants. Every feature German engineers deemed primitive served specific battlefield purposes. German military doctrine emphasized specialized optimization, specific vehicles for specific tasks. American doctrine emphasized versatile sufficiency, one vehicle adaptable to any requirement. In warfare's chaos, universal adequacy everywhere proved superior to specialized excellence in limited applications. The Jeep served as reconnaissance vehicle, ambulance, command car, weapons platform, communications center and supply truck, often multiple roles within hours. The cultural implications proved equally significant. German military hierarchy reserved vehicles for officers and specialists. American motorization democratized mobility. Every squad leader, medic, and messenger could have independent transportation. This distribution of capability at every level created tactical options German doctrine couldn't counter. As Field Marshal Model observed during the Ardennes, the Americans have motorized initiative itself. Production philosophy differed fundamentally. Germany's multiple specialized vehicles meant constant retooling, unique parts inventories, and specialized training. America's single design enabled continuous production, massive parts commonality, and universal familiarity. When German vehicles broke down, they awaited specific parts for weeks. When Jeeps broke down, any other Jeep provided parts. This interchangeability multiplied effective availability beyond production numbers. Fuel efficiency, initially dismissed by German engineers, became crucial as the war progressed. The Jeep's fuel economy seemed modest until compared to German vehicles requiring scarce high-octane fuel. By 1944, German units abandoned sophisticated vehicles for lack of proper fuel, while captured Jeeps ran on any available gasoline, even alcohol mixtures that would destroy German engines. Maintenance revealed another reversal. Late-war German vehicles required extensive, specialized maintenance. The Jeep's maintenance was so simple drivers performed most tasks themselves. This reduced support infrastructure, freeing personnel for combat. A panzer division required hundreds of specialized mechanics. American divisions achieved higher vehicle availability with minimal support personnel. Combat employment transformed tactical doctrine. German combined arms tactics coordinated specialized units sequentially. American tactics, enabled by universal motorization, allowed simultaneous multidimensional operations. Every unit could move, shoot, and communicate independently. The battlefield became not a line, but a zone of American operational presence throughout its depth. Logistical implications multiplied combat effectiveness. Traditional calculations assumed infantry marched at 4 kilometers per hour. Motorized infantry and trucks moved faster, but required roads. Jeep-mounted forces ignored these limitations, maintaining advance rates that consistently disrupted German planning cycles. American forces moved 3 times faster than German doctrine anticipated. Communication integration represented another revolution. Jeeps carrying radios created mobile networks maintaining command control despite fluid operations. German forces, dependent on fixed communication nodes, found themselves consistently outpaced by American information flow. Intelligence that took hours to reach German commanders arrived at American headquarters in minutes. Medical evacuation capabilities transformed battlefield survival. Jeeps configured as ambulances evacuated wounded from front lines to aid stations in minutes rather than hours. German forces, dependent on horse-drawn ambulances, watched American casualties receive treatment that would have been impossible under their system. This visible care for wounded had profound morale implications. Supply distribution underwent similar transformation. Traditional logistics required established supply dumps vulnerable to attack. Jeep-supplied units received ammunition, food and fuel anywhere. German forces in Italy reported American units supplied in positions German logistics deemed unreachable. The concept of isolated positions became meaningless when jeeps could reach anywhere soldiers could walk. Post-war analysis by German generals consistently identified the jeep as decisive, not through direct combat, but by enabling warfare that made German strengths irrelevant. Superior German tanks meant nothing when American forces bypassed them. Excellent defensive positions became meaningless when American forces flowed around them. Professional German military expertise was neutralized by American mobility that transformed amateur enthusiasm into effective combat power. When the West German Bundeswehr formed in 1955, their first vehicle acquisitions included thousands of American M38 Jeeps. Officers who had fought against Jeeps now commanded them. Major General Hans Speidel, Rommel's former chief of staff who became NATO commander, observed, "To command American Jeeps in peace reminds us how we misunderstood American capability. They conquered not through superior weapons, but through superior production and practical innovation." Colonel General Heinz Guderian, pioneer of Blitzkrieg, provided the definitive assessment. The Jeep epitomized American military philosophy: simple, reliable, versatile, and mass-produced. We built engineering marvels we couldn't maintain or fuel. The Americans built something so fundamentally sound it needed no improvement, perfect not because it excelled at everything, but because it succeeded at anything. Veterans' reunions decades later featured remarkable exchanges. At a 1975 gathering in Tunisia, Afrika Korps veterans met American counterparts. Hauptmann Wilhelm Bittrich, who had served with 21st Panzer, told former Jeep driver William Patterson, "In 1943 we fought over captured Jeeps like gold. One functioning Jeep was worth 3 Kübelwagens. You built vehicles, we built complications that defeated themselves." Field Marshal Erich von Manstein provided history's verdict. The Jeep defeated us not through firepower but through omnipresence. It enabled warfare we hadn't imagined. We invented Blitzkrieg, lightning war, but the Americans perfected it. Their lightning was not one bold stroke, but thousands of Jeeps moving simultaneously. We built weapons to win battles. They built Jeeps to win the war. The transformation from mockery to desperation reveals more than military defeat. It exposes the collision between two philosophies. German technological sophistication met American mass production and practical innovation. The Jeep became democracy motorized, designed by committee, built by civilians, simple enough for anyone to operate, versatile enough for any task. Statistical comparison reveals the transformation's magnitude. Germany produced approximately 345,000 military vehicles of all types during the war across dozens of models. America produced 639,245 Jeeps alone, one model, interchangeable parts, universal application. While German vehicles grew increasingly complex, the Jeep remained essentially unchanged, proving that in warfare, perfect is the enemy of good enough. Today, military museums display German Panthers and Tigers as engineering excellence, impressive, powerful, and ultimately irrelevant. Beside them sit Jeeps, simple, practical, and victorious. The German generals who dismissed American toys in 1942 ended the war desperately trying to capture them. Their laughter had become longing, their dismissal transformed to desire. The Jeep conquered not through superiority, but through sufficiency multiplied by mass production. It proved that in modern warfare, victory belongs not to the sophisticated, but to the reproducible, not to the specialized, but to the adaptable, not to the perfect, but to the adequate in overwhelming numbers. Every Jeep rolling off assembly lines was a vote for practical innovation over theoretical perfection. The toy that German generals mocked in 1942 had transformed warfare itself by 1945, carrying American forces from African beaches to the heart of the Reich that had laughed at them.